I guess you're already recording then, huh?
I am. I'm trying to figure out. Okay.
Well, okay. Good morning, everybody. Well, what's going on today? I'm probably going to throw this in with my hatchet handle video just so I can have enough content. We're making wine today. I ain't made wine in a few years, but I've been making wine since I was 12, so I've got about 18 years experience on this. I may have picked up some things, may not have. I may or may not know what I'm talking about, but here we go. My way I do my mixtures is, nowadays, y'all heard my little penny dropper story there. And if you ain't, go back and look up my drunk story video. So anyways, I found it's just so much easier just to make wine out of the juice of whatever type of fruit you're trying to make it out of. The juice has already got certain, some people might call it preservatives or whatever in there to keep it from spoiling and turning as bad. So you're a lot less likely to get a bitter wine using these if you're trying to make more like a table wine or a sweet wine, whatever you want to call it. So I've had a lot better luck with this because if you go to make it out of the berry and the meat of the fruit, you'll put it in there to start working, then them berries start turning and rotting. And when that happens, that's where you get that nasty bitter taste to it. So I'm just not a big fan of that. So, which I don't drink it, people's more liable to buy it if it tastes better and tastes sweet, in my opinion. Even people that don't like wine tend to like my wine, let's put it that way. So I just like using straight juice. It's also easier to determine how much wine you're going to ultimately end up with because you're not having to remove the berries out of the equation. So I like that. Now, no matter how I'm making my wine, whether I'm using berries, juice, or whatever, this is the only measurement you're going to have to know in this whole stipulation here. Is whatever you're making it in, don't matter if it's 1 gallon, 20 gallons, 100 gallons, don't matter. 25% of whatever I'm making, I'm going to fill up full of sugar. The reason for that being is sugar don't make it sweet. Sugar gets ate by the yeast and turned into alcohol. If you want it sweeter, make it out of more juice. That's why I make mine. I don't put any water in my wine at all. I make it out of juice and sugar, and that's it. So theoretically, the more sugar you got in it, the more higher of an alcohol content it's going to have. Now there is a limit because if it gets too much alcohol, it gets to where the yeast can't survive in that much of an alcohol level. So I find about 25% is good. So if you're making a gallon, put a quart in there. If you're making 20 gallons, put 5 gallons of sugar in there. So now that y'all know the gist of it, let's just get on with it. And one more note, we found that cheap grape juice makes better wine than Welch'S. And I hate to admit that because you think better juice, better wine, more expensive juice, more... No, I don't know why. Do you, girl?
It gives it a tart flavor.
Okay, whatever she said. So, so let's just get on with it then. This is a big mouth bubbler. Jesus, that old washing machine. This is a big mouth bubbler right here. And unlike some of the more traditional, some people call them demijohns or carboys, just old wine jugs, whatever you want to call them. This has got this big old top that comes off. And you can reach your hand. We done cleaned everything. Everything's been super clean, and you don't want to use any Dawn or Clorox or anything like that. It may mess it up or whatever. You want to just clean it out, just good hot water. It's the best thing you can do. Now they do make certain chemicals you can put in there, but what's the point of putting all that money, in my opinion, and all that complication into homemade wine? You're trying to save money, right? But either way, so that's going on. You got a bung up here at the top, which is that white cork looking thing. So if that's the bung, come on out of there. So if that's the bung hole. So anyways, we're gonna stick it back up here. And this is your airlock. And this particular, many different models, this is called an S-lock because it comes up in S's around. All the air from the gases from the fermentation is going to come up, go through here, and this water acts as a barrier from the outside world and the outside air, which will end up making vinegar instead of wine. That's really the difference between vinegar and wine. Wine is fermenting without any oxygen levels or without any oxygen exposure. Vinegar is fermenting stuff with oxygen exposure. It will make vinegar. It's a totally different creature right there. So now that we know that, we're going to take this off. lay it off to the side. And like I said, no matter what you're making, 25% sugar. Now, and we're also going to be making a different, we're using actual yeast this time. We've never used any brewer's yeast, which is just...
It's not in English.
Huh?
I said, but it's not in English.
Well...
Also can't get it to focus. Anyway.
Well, most of my talking ain't in English either. So anyways, or at least not coherent English.
It's supposed to be a red wine yeast.
Right. Normally we just use bread yeast, but you know, and it works fine. It works, nothing wrong with that. But your wine kind of has a bready taste to it. Some people like it, some don't. Like I said, I've never used this. We're gonna experiment together on this. So we got that going. Laying this off to the side now. Another crucial thing is you need to know the laws of your particular state and what you can or cannot get away with. The national law is across the board, all across America. The law is you can have up to 200 gallons at one time, and wine by that definition, as soon as I put this yeast into it, it's called pitching the wine. As soon as I pitch the wine, it's got yeast in it. Whether it's just a day old into making or if it's 10 years old, it's classified as wine at that point, whether it's in the process of making or whether it's done making. So, nationally speaking, you can't have over 200 gallons at one time. Just wine, not alcohol, not liquor, not moonshine. That's a totally different critter. This is just wine. Alabama is a lot more strict. You can't have over 5 gallons at one time. So, even though this is a 6.5 gallon container, I can't fill it up over 5 gallons. That's just the nature of the beast. And just being safe, we may even just try to make 4 gallons, to be honest with you, just to see what I feel like. But either way, so knowing that I cannot exceed 5 gallons. So we need to put in here anywhere from 1 to 1.25 gallons of sugar. So let's get on with that. And I got these little markers on here. So that'll be the 1 gallon mark, 2 gallon, 3 gallon, 4 gallon, 5, 6. When you see this little concave top would be your 6.5. So no matter how much sugar we put in here, we cannot go over this 5 mark. And I know McGee's like, hey, this is white death right now. Yeah, I know, McGee. I know. It don't stop you from drinking it though. And I'm gonna go ahead and pour just a bit of this in here. That way it keeps the sugar from completely just sticking to the bottom off, but there's at least some type of moisture going on. And best way to pour stuff is just pour it. And I'm probably going to go up over the spigot just a bit there. That way the sugar don't crust and clot it up too much and crystallize before we need to actually use it. Which that's another good thing about these big mouth bubblers. You ain't got to siphon out crap because you already got this spigot down here. And also you're going to want it high enough off the ground to where we got like several of these bubblers. It's better to have it high enough off the ground that we ain't got to move it, and when it comes time to rack it off later, which y'all see what that's about. You want it high enough off the ground to where you can just stick your next container under it and just open that spout and just run it all out. Because if not, you got it down low somewhere, you got to pick it up, and you're just going to be shaking a little bit when you move it. Also, you run the risk of dropping it too, and that's obviously bad if I got to explain that to you. Whew. But anyways, you want to stick it up under there, not shake it, not drop it or anything. Already have it up high, and then just spout it off. And it works out so much better that way. But anyways, I'm going to put just a little more in there. It ain't completely covered. And another thing is oxygen helps the yeast do its job. So there ain't nothing wrong with pouring from a high elevation and making all these bubbles and everything. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, a lot of people go back and actually stir their wine up as it's making to help introduce more oxygen into the batch to help the yeast work and make better alcohol or more alcohol. But I guess it's better this way in a sense.
More controlled.
Yeah, well, more controlled, and it ain't all just going to bunch up all at one time and stick together, you know. So it's slightly better. Now that we got that done, time to stir it. And like I said, anything that goes in here you want pristine. So like just for this, like even I took a bath, okay? I just want to make sure this stays clean. It ain't gonna overly kill anything, but wine can be picky sometimes. It just any little bacteria gets in there, it might affect how your yeast can do its job. So it may or may not completely ruin it, but still just try to give it the best chance you can, if that makes any sense. So I'm fixing to stir it, but before we do that, I'm going to activate this yeast because that's going to take a long time. And activating yeast takes like 10-15 minutes. So this is a real simple thing. This is you can pour it straight in there, it does fine, but we're going to show you how to activate it real quick. So let's get on with that. And it's as simple as this. Just I put a little sugar in the bottom and put some warm water on it. You don't want it hot. It may or may not kill the yeast, as long as it's warm to the touch. Just slightly warm, that's all it takes. Some might even call it lukewarm. But you're going to put that in there. We're going to open up the yeast. And then we're just going to pour that in there. Alrighty. Give that a little swoosh. Alrighty. Now I know what you're saying. It looks like baby puke, but that's okay. Because when this is all said and done, it's basically starting up to make an adult puke. So
we've done it before.
Talking about old Jimmy. Yeah, bless his. Bless. But that taught me not to bet an alcoholic of what he will or won't drink. So anyways, that's another story another time. So we're gonna let that sit. Y'all seen what that's like, and I'm just gonna get to stirring this. If you want to get a close up there. And I know it ain't warm, it's gonna take longer to dissolve, but that's okay. But it's simple as this, just get it going. And every once in a while stop and just take a backward stroke, you know, go clockwise several times. And then once it starts getting easy to do that, because you build up momentum, just stop, go backwards one time. And listen real close, you hear this? Hear all that grain and everything scratching, sounds like you're dragging sand across it. You don't want that. That means your sugar ain't dissolved yet. So you're going to stir this, and it's going to take longer because it is colder. But you want to keep doing this until you can't hear that no more. Then you know it's completely dissolved. And the reason you want to do that, if it ain't dissolved, it's going to settle at the bottom, and you're just going to have wasted sugar, and it's also wasted wine because it didn't get mixed in with the sugar, or when mixed in with the wine. So you're going to be here a minute, you're going to be stirring for a minute, but you got to get it done. So it's going to take quite a while. So we'll get back to it when this is over. It's going to take 10-20 minutes. Alright, and as y'all can see, it has developed a big old foam on top. I don't know if you call that the mother or not. I don't know. Don't overly care, but now it's just combine everything. Alrighty, 99% of the sugar's been stirred up into this, and just the act of pouring it in there should mix it up fairly well enough. So it's just as simple as. Now another thing is, I know I got a great aunt, and I may watch the channel, so you know who y'all are, but I think she makes mulberry wine, and she just puts sugar in hers. She don't add yeast at all. And you could probably, I mean, this will turn into wine eventually. It's just the yeast helps it out, and the yeast will actually add different flavors to it. There is actually a flavor with each yeast. Like I said, bread yeast, you will have a bready taste. That's what makes bread really taste like that, no joke. Alrighty, 1, 2, 3, 4, going to there.
If she makes it out of the fruit, that's why she doesn't add yeast.
And there's a chance of that too.
You don't have to add yeast when you're using the fruit. Because
it probably matters on what kind of juice you're making too.
When the fruit itself ferments, so you don't need the yeast.
Well, like I said, it depends on it too. If it's fresh squeezed stuff, it's probably going to have all that natural yeast on it anyway. So once again, depends what kind of juice you're dealing with. Regardless, yeast don't hurt nothing. It actually speeds it up. Now another note about yeast, I don't like using a whole crap ton. The more of it you use, it will work faster, but it will also have a lot yeastier of a flavor when it's all said and done. So I like using the bare minimum. It'll take longer to work. That's a no joke thing, but it makes a better taste in my opinion. It tastes less like yeast and more like, you know, the juices that you originally tried making it out of. That's just my opinion. But anyways, there's the 5 gallon mark. You can barely see it in the bubbles right there. So this is 3/4 of an inch, 5/8 of an inch under that mark. So we're definitely under the 5 gallons. Now, we're gonna take this, and this is the pitching time. That's pitching with a P, not the other one. So, it's just simple as this. And that's it. Now we're gonna take our little top, put it on here. And look, it's already working. No, just kidding. It's going to take a while, but in 30 minutes to an hour, you're going to see all kinds of bubbles and stuff coming up out here. We'll actually give you an update here in a little bit, or it might be the ending scene of the video. But regardless, this is it. It's got your sugar in there. It's been mixed up. I make sure my spout is hanging over the edge for when I do come back later and rack it off, which that's just a fancy word for moving it from one container to another one, just so we get rid of all the sediments. But either way, this is ready to go. We'll just give you an update when it's bubbling here in 30 minutes or so, and hopefully y'all enjoyed this video and be looking for a future update.